Hi, I'm Dick Corder. I'm running for State Representative HD 33, which is in West Portland and over into Washington County. I'm a professional forester. I've been managing forest lands in the state of Oregon for numerous years and have a little experience in fire. With all the fires that we've had in recent weeks, particularly last week, I'd like to have a little short discussion with you about the principles of fire. Now, we know in order to start a fire and have a fire, we need to have three elements. One is oxygen, one is fuel, and the other is ignition. So those three we refer to as the fire triangle. As I mentioned, all three of them are required to start a fire. Is there any of those three that can be taken away to keep a fire from starting? Let's take a quick look and discuss that. Oxygen. We know that we all live on oxygen, so oxygen is there. We certainly can't take oxygen away or we'd all perish. Ignition. We know that we possibly can control ignition to some degree, but in nature, lightning starts a lot of fires. We know that humans start a large percentage of fires, but lightning in nature starts fires, so we really can't take lightning away. So then fuels is the only one in the triangle, the fire triangle, that we can discuss, that we can determine whether we can take that away from that triangle in order to keep fires from igniting. What is forest fuel? Forest fuel is simply, in very simple terms, growing vegetation. And as we look here, we can see the types of vegetation that grow in the woods. And as it grows and grows and grows, it grows up into the sky. And we talk in terms of fuel loading. We talk in terms of fuel ladders. As the vegetation grows taller, that effectively causes a ladder to climb into the sky. We also know that in the wooded areas, trees eventually die. Those trees become dry, they become rotten, and they become very, very vulnerable to fire. Those trees are oftentimes in the canopies of the forest, so when you have the low vegetation on the ground growing towards the sky and the dead trees in the canopy of the forest, that's effectively, in very simple terms, the fire ladder. Fire gets started on the floor, it climbs to the crown. We like to keep the fire out of the crown. So how can we keep the fire from igniting on that fuel? There are actually, in forest management, there are two silvicultural practices that we use and have been used that we can keep fires at a low minimum. One is clear cutting. We know that if we take all the trees off the property and plant new trees, that fuel load is closer to the ground, the ladder is eliminated. And we know from management activities that we can control those fuels on the floor by piling small piles or windrowing. Sometimes we burn the piles, sometimes we just leave them rot down to the ground, but we always leave bare soil around those piles, which keeps the fire from spreading rapidly if it ever gets started. It might just get started in a pile. That's one method we can control fire. The other method in forest management is thinning. I'm not talking about just simply cutting brush. I'm talking about thinning trees, spacing trees, selling them on a commercial markets, because some of them will. That helps to pay for the project. And as we space the trees, we effectively take all the dead and dying timber out first, sticks of wood, and doing that, then we lower that ladder. That ladder gets eliminated up in the crown of the tree. And as we space the trees out, we allow the green crown to become deeper and thicker and more, a greater percentage of the total height of the tree, which helps to keep from having all that dead material in the sky to get flames started in. So that's two methods that we can use to help control fire. Now, we've heard a lot about global warming or temperature changing, and how does that affect, or how can we deal with that in terms of forest management? Well, number one, we know that global warming would not do anything to change the oxygen level. We know that it would not do anything to change the ignition probability for the two reasons I've already talked about. Number one, the oxygen is natural, it's there. Number 2, lightning in the sky from storms will cause the ignition process. So, will the global warming or the climate change affect, how can it affect fuels? Does it affect fuels? Well, yes, it does. We can make that happen. But I don't know, I have never been told of anything that's being proposed to abate climate change that will, in fact, take away one of those elements of that triangle, specifically the fuel levels. There's been talk about taxes, there's been talk about taking away diesel fuels, making electric cars. None of those that I know of, I've never been told, no one's ever told me that those will take away the ability for the fuels in a forest to be ignited. So, long and the short of the story is we need to promote forest management more extensively. Federal lands and all public lands are not being managed as well as they certainly could be, and if we control that fuel level to keep fires from being ignited in the woods, that solves a big majority of the problem. So again, let's promote forest management. I'm Dick Corder, running for House District 33. I would love to have the opportunity to work with our legislature in helping to get the smoke out of your eyes and get more forest management in the woods. Thank you.